Dublin, by Louis MacNeice. Grey brick upon brick, declamatory bronze on sombre pedestals. O'Connell, Grattan, Moore. And the brewery tugs and the swans on the balustraded stream, and the bare bones of a fanlight over a hungry door, and the air, soft, on the cheek, and porter running from the taps with a head of yellow cream, and Nelson on his pillar, watching his world collapse. This was never my town. I was not born, nor bred, nor schooled here, and she will not have me alive or dead. But yet she holds my mind with her seedy elegance, with her gentle veils of rain, and all her ghosts that walk, and all that hide behind her Georgian facades, the catcalls and the pain, the glamour of her squalor, the bravado of her talk. The lights jig in the river with a concertina movement, and the sun comes up in the morning like barley sugar on the water, and the mist on the Wicklow hills is close as the peasantry were to the landlord, as the Irish to the Anglo-Irish, as the killer is close one moment to the man he kills, or as the moment itself is close to the next moment. She's not an Irish town, and she is not English, historic with guns and vermin, and the cold renown of a fragment of church Latin, of an oratorical phrase. But, oh, the days are soft, soft enough to forget the lesson better learnt, the bullet on the wet streets, the crooked deal, the steel behind the laugh, the forecourts burnt. Fort of the Dane, Garston of the Saxon, Augustan capital of a Gaelic nation, appropriating all the alien brought. You give me time for thought, and by a juggler's trick you poise the toppling hour. O greyness run to flower. Grey stone, grey water, and brick upon grey brick.
Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learn too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
The Lost Land by Ivan Boland. I have 2 daughters. They are all I ever wanted from the earth. Or almost all. I also wanted one piece of ground, one city trapped by hills, one urban river, an island in its element, so that I could say mine, my own, and mean it. Now they are grown up and far away, and memory itself has become an emigrant, wandering in a place where love dissembles itself as landscape, where the hills are the colours of a child's eyes, where my children are distances, horizons. At night, on the edge of sleep, I can see the shore of Dublin Bay, its rocky sweep and its granite pier. Is this, I say, how they must have seen it, backing out on the mailboat at twilight, shadows falling on everything they had to leave and would love forever. I imagine myself on the landward rail of that boat, searching for the last sight of a hand. I see myself on the underworld side of that water, the darkness coming in fast, saying all the names I know for a lost land. Ireland, absence, daughter.
The Listeners by Walter Delamere. Is there anybody there? Said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses of the forest's ferny floor, and a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again, a second time. Is there anybody there? He said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood, perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf 'neath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door, even louder, and lifted his head. Tell them I came, and no one answered, that I kept my word, he said. Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone.
Water by Maureen Kennelly. Chuckling in gutters, active in the corner of a field, or barely bending the slightest flowers, its pace is perfect. Bridge between earth and sky, lucid contract between those things that wish to grow. I feel it when I stand. Uncouth watcher, flow through me with a shock that makes me love its definition of rock and stone. Its gracious wavering from those things to which it pays attention. It lives so completely, it does not need to bully what comes in its path. The unresting, colourless blood of creation is content to approach, digress, but rarely overwhelm. Nothing has a lighter touch. It has many voices, and I have heard a few. I like most what it says of recovery and movement, the will to continue while acknowledging the possible superiority of remaining still. Disciple of its fluency, I follow it everywhere. Sometimes I think the sky exults with it, and I listen to the heartbeat of the sea at the centre of the stone, laughter down the side of a hill, a playful rumpus at the doorway, the freckled thrill on the river's face, and I marvel again at the presence that lives because it is gone.
A Winter Solstice by Peter Fallon. A low sun leans across the fields of County Meath, like 30 watts behind a dirty blind. New year begins to breathe new life into the ground. The winter wheat begins to teeth. The tarmac streams like precious ore beside wrapped bales, bright in the glare. And we declare, a boy's voice breaking in the throat of morning, a prayer that works to scar the slate of unimaginable hurt. We draw breath in the air. Its shapes are almost tangible. And the breath and sweat of horses makes a minor mist. Beautiful. And beautiful the light on water as the age's newly minted coin. Past and present join in the winter solstice. The days will stretch, and we survive with losses, yes, and lessons too. To reap the honey of the hive of history, the yield of what is given insists a choice. To live, to thrive.
In Memory of Eva Gorbuth and Con Markovich by William Butler Yeats. The light of evening, Lissadell, great windows open to the south. Two girls in silk kimonos, both beautiful. One, a gazelle. But a raving autumn shears blossom from the summer's wreath. The older is condemned to death, pardoned, drags out lonely years conspiring among the ignorant. I know not what the younger dreams, some vague utopia, and she seems, when withered, old, and skeleton gaunt, an image of such politics. Many a time I think to seek one or the other out and speak of that old Georgian mansion. Mix pictures of the mind. Recall that table and the talk of youth. Two girls in silk kimonos, both beautiful. One, a gazelle. Dear shadows, now you know it all. All the folly of a fight with a common wrong or right. The innocent and the beautiful have no enemy but time. Arise, and bid me strike a match, and strike another till time catch. Should the conflagration climb, run till all the sages know. We the great gazebo built, they convicted us of guilt. Bid me strike a match and blow.
A Winter Solstice, Peter Fallon. A low sun leans across the fields of County Meath, like 30 watts behind a dirty blind. New year begins to breathe new life into the ground. The winter wheat begins to teethe. The tarmac streams like precious ore beside wrapped bales bright in the glare. Crows shake like collies by a puddle, blooms of spray, and they declare, a boy's voice breaking in the throat of morning. A prayer that works to scour the slate of unimaginable hurt. We draw breath in the air. Its shapes are almost tangible, and the breath and sweat of horses makes a minor mist beautiful, and beautiful the water of light as the age's newly minted coin. You'd be hard-pressed from here to tell a withered elm across the Boyne from an ash that's hibernating. Past and present join in the winter solstice. The days will stretch, and we survive with losses, yes, and lessons too, to reap the honey of the hive of history. The yield of what is given insists a choice to live, to thrive.
All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women, merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. And then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like a pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good cap unlined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so, he plays his part. The 6th stage shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big, manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last stage of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
The Lost Land by Ivan Boland. I have 2 daughters. They are all I ever wanted from the earth. Or almost all. I also wanted one piece of ground. One city trapped by hills. One urban river. An island in its element. So I could say, mine. My own. And mean it. Now, they are grown up and far away, and memory itself has become an emigrant, wandering in a place where love dissembles itself as a landscape, where the hills are the colours of a child's eyes, where my children are distances, horizons. At night, on the edge of sleep, I can see the shore of Dublin Bay, its rocky sweep and its granite pier. Is this, I say, how they must have seen it? Backing out on the mailboat at twilight, shadows falling on everything they had to leave, and would love forever. And then I imagine myself at the landward rail of that boat, searching for the last sight of a hand. I see myself on the underworld side of that water. The darkness coming in fast, saying all the names I know for a lost land. Ireland. Absence. Daughter.